The thorough defeat of the House of Kildare was the beginning of the end of the old Irish ways, leaving an English army in Dublin, where one would remain until British withdrawal almost 5 centuries later. Likewise, the Viceroy or Lord Deputy, instead of being chosen from a family in Ireland, would thereafter always be English, and from 1541, when Henry had himself declared King of Ireland, he became the first foreign king to rule, where a British monarch would now reign until 1922. Henry's fears that without a suitably strong male heir his changes in Britain and Ireland might be undone were disproved by Elizabeth, his daughter by Anne Boleyn, who proved herself an even more ruthless and merciless monarch than her father. She systematically set about destroying the remaining powerful families of Ireland so as, in her own words, to bring that rude and barbarous nation to civility, using the by then standard racist claim of moral and intellectual superiority to justify the brutal oppression of her nearest neighbour. All this despite the well-documented contemporary reports on Ireland from other European countries, which invariably describe the Irish as most learned and highly cultured. In her war on the Irish families, for example, she provoked the Desmond Butlers, the next most powerful house after the Kildare Fitzgeralds, to the point of rebellion, then crushed them savagely, though not before a famous surprise victory over her Lord Deputy Grey at Glenmalure in 1580. After Glenmalure, Fiach Mac Hugh's force marched on Carlow, only to find their triumph a short-lived one. Elizabeth divided the finest Desmond land between Sir Walter Raleigh, the Hydes, ancestors of the first President of the Republic, and the Spencers, for services rendered. However, even among such loyal supporters, shock horror registered at the appalling conditions to which she condemned the very subjects whom she claimed to protect. The poet Edmund Spenser most sorrowfully described the famine victims he witnessed in 1596 as follows: "Out of every corner of the woods and glens they came, creeping forth upon their hands, for their legs would not bear them. They spake like ghosts crying out of their graves." In the north, the last of the old Gaelic chieftains, Hugh O'Neill, Earl of Tyrone, ruled Ulster according to ancient Irish ways and laws, despite every effort made to raise him as an English gentleman and protege of Elizabeth. But he also was provoked to revolt by Sir Henry Bagnall, one of the Reformation New English. Following O'Neill's defeat of Bagnall's forces at the Battle of the Yellow Ford, he sensed his opportunity to strike for national liberty and turned to Catholic Spain for assistance. In 1601, the Spaniards sailed into Kinsale at the wrong end of the country for O'Neill, who was forced to march his troops the full length of Ireland to join the Spanish. They arrived exhausted and were then forced to fight on unfamiliar terrain at the Battle of Kinsale, where they suffered a most comprehensive defeat. Although O'Neill continued to resist for several more years, by 1607 he had had enough, and together with Rory O'Donnell, Earl of Tyrconnell, and several other earls and their families, O'Neill set sail from Lough Swilly to the continent, never to return. The flight of the earls, as their exodus became known, was the final death knell of the old Gaelic order. In the subsequent 1610 settlement, the confiscated lands of the earls was given over to English and Scottish Protestants who would be loyal to the crown. These colonial planters shared their queen's belief of superiority to the native Irish and treated the Catholics with such callous contempt as to drive a wedge of bigotry between the two religions, which still exists for many to this very day.